But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
With the rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, you know me, I like to get weird. And, I've been really on about storytelling a little too much recently, trying to mix it up. And I was like, well, what's another fun way to do it? And, of course, Dungeons & Dragons comes to mind. Back to the well, back to some of these great ideas that Gary Gygax brought us. And his band of collaborators, his merry band of collaborators that built this amazing game engine, which, of course, predates video games. This goes all the way back to tabletop role-playing games, which is what we're talking about tonight. But not like you think. As usual, you don't have to be a connoisseur of Dungeons & Dragons at all to be included in the conversation tonight, because, of course, we're going to we're going to get weird. That's what we do. As usual, like I have to add, there's no truth to be found here. This is literally just ideas. I call these a thought experiment, and just a group of people getting together to talk about these things as part of a philosophical construct. So if you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. This is not, we don't do politics. We don't do truth per se. Clearly you can talk truth if you want to, but my point is, my premise on all of this stuff, I'm not trying to say it's the truth of anything. I'm trying to say there are multitudes of possibilities, and we should probably do our best to recognize them. That's all. It's very simple. And so tonight, we're going to do a little Dungeons & Dragons. I'm calling this a party egregore. The dragon exists because we willed it. Now, what the hell does that mean? Okay, well, just so for the people that don't know, the people that haven't played Dungeons & Dragons, so I'll just brief you real quick on this so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. Now, in the old days, you would sit around a little table, a little coffee table, or some kind of a makeshift, maybe even flip over a garbage can in the garage and use that as your tabletop. Put a piece of cardboard on top or whatever, and that's where you rolled the dice. And there would be several of you around it, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, whatever, and that would sort of be the ritual circle. You see what I'm getting at now. Now, the ritual circle, of course, would just be the game space. where everybody got together in this collective mind space and it told a tale together. They told a story collectively by role playing, by, sort of invoking the gods, by rolling the dice, because that's how you invoke chance in a game like that. And that was Dungeons and Dragons. It was highly imaginative. It was unbelievably ahead of its time, and it probably still is, by the way. It spawned an entire genre of role-playing games that kind of came behind it, the TTRP, they call it tabletop role-playing. But that's it. It's as simple as that. And the tales and the stories and the sagas and the strife and the drama and the trauma, it's all built into just a group of people sitting together telling the story collectively. It's as simple as that. Now, let's see. Okay. Let me read it this way. So there's a few different ways we can take this, but I want to just make sure I get this right as usual. I'm trying these little write-ups to see if these work, and I can stitch them into some other, other YouTube videos. That's not working so far. They're not turning out great, but that doesn't mean you should give up immediately. I'm going to try a few more. If they continue to suck, I'll stop doing it. But anyway, here we go. This is exactly where we're heading tonight, and now you've got the setting. I think you're in 1985 somewhere. You're sitting around a tabletop or a makeshift tabletop with your friends, and herein begins the saga. The act of sitting around a table to engage in a tabletop role-playing game is often dismissed as mere escapism. Yet, it presents one of the most sophisticated rituals of consensual reality currently practiced in the modern world. When a group of players agrees to inhabit a shared imaginary space, they are effectively bypassing the standard filters of their individual perceptions to create a collective mental architecture. This is not just a game of make-believe because the emotional and psychological responses it triggers are biologically indistinguishable from those caused by real events. In this space, the dragon exists because the group has collectively willed its presence into the narrative field, creating a localized reality that operates on its own set of internal laws. And there's a whole bunch of really cool articles talking about this stuff. We'll get to them tonight, but called social constructionism. There's a whole batch of stuff here. LARPing has a more intense effect than other entertainment. I'll show you those articles as we go, but they're all linked in the description, so do check that out. It's pretty good stuff. Anyway, within this ritual, the polyhedral dice serve as a literal bridge between the human will and the raw chaos of the universe. Every roll of the 20-sided die acts as a quantum randomizer that collapses a cloud of narrative possibilities into a single concrete outcome. This is the moment where the machine of fate enters the human story, allowing something outside of the players themselves to dictate the path of the collective experience. If we view the universe through the lens of modern physics, where the observer influences the state of the observed, then the intense focus of a gaming party might actually be a form of probability hacking. They are not just guessing what happens next, but rather they are training their consciousness to navigate and manipulate the streams of chance that govern our daily existence. The adventuring party itself functions as an egregore, which is a specialized form of collective intelligence or a thought form that takes on a life of its own. We've talked about that in the past quite a lot. In the esoteric traditions, an egregore is born when a group focuses on a single purpose. And at the gaming table, this entity is the party. The individual players temporarily submerge their own egos to become components of a larger, more capable unit. One acts as the senses, another as the muscle, and another as the intuitive link to the unseen. This structural blueprint for consciousness allows the group to solve problems and face terrors that would be insurmountable for a single person, suggesting that the party is the ultimate defensive formation against the encroaching chaos of the noosphere. As we move further into an era of synthetic identities and algorithmic control, forget it, I'll skip that part, that's garbage anyway. Okay, but you get the idea. That's where we start tonight. And the weird part about this is not only does it strike home for me because of all the the D&D I played as a youngster, but it's wild that now, 40 years later, there's this massive sort of element of the zeitgeist that's really adopted these ideas through Stranger Things and through, tabletop role-playing is more popular than it's ever been. It's growing every single day, and more people are getting into it because it's fun. You literally just detach from the interwebs entirely. You sit down with your friends at a table and you have a good time and tell stories. And what could be better than that? And so the question I have for you guys tonight, as usual, is it's wide and varied. But the question we start with is, do you think that something like this could be considered some sort of actual collective brain ritual, some mind space hacking where you can get together and decide what reality looks like, at least for a moment? And do you think that enough of this can cause, I don't know, bleed into our own reality? Again, those links are in the description. We'll talk about that stuff as we go. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. We are taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the conversation, that would be 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It is as easy as that. But before we do any of that, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that is going to be Human Inspiration. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere. See you in exactly 1 minute. In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Now, so a party egregore is basically that. Like, you get around, everybody gets in the same mind space, and you're reality hacking. You're actually inhabiting a different experience, a different place, a different time, but you're all doing it together. Kind of like they say when you take ayahuasca, everybody has the same trip, except nobody has to be high on anything. Don't do drugs, kids. But you get the idea. There's a whole lot of weird stuff going on with this, which is incredible because it is a way for us to share not just that creative outlet we always have, that creative engine that brings me back to this show all the time, just wondering about how we can look at things differently and how we can frame them in certain ways and how we can actually get together collectively like this, like we do, creating this show together as a part of the party. Now, if you guys have been watching Stranger Things, no spoilers. If you guys want to talk a little bit about Stranger Things, that's cool. But I don't want to, don't drop any spoilers yet. We'll give it some time to make sure everybody that wants to see it can see it. And then at some point we'll talk about Stranger Things maybe next month or something. But for now, you know, it's kind of in that space of the party. And the party, of course, is all those characters that have been with Stranger Things since the very beginning. That is the party itself, the party that gets together in that game room in the basement, and they have this collective mind space experience. But in, of course, the case of the Upside Down and Vecna and all the stuff that comes with it, it turns into a monster movie and all the rest of it, all kinds of different things. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of ways to look at this, and I've got a lot of places to take it as usual, which I will do momentarily. But as usual, I'd like to hear from you guys instead. That's the entire point of this. So let's talk. What do you know about the party egregore? And do you think it's possible to get into a flow state with not just yourself, but with a collective group of people, small or large? And that's what's on my mind tonight. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Just like this, let's go to James in Michigan. Salcedo Paranormal. How you doing, brother? Thanks for popping in and sitting in tonight. Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
I'm just glad to be here. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes, sir. Coming through great. No echo, I think. We're good there?
No echo. Yep, no echo. We're
okay.
Good.
Perfect. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Lots of ways to take this. And I think I know where you're headed because we chatted a little bit before we started, but go right ahead.
Yeah, well, this just has me thinking of, it's something I bring up once in a while. So I'm just going to paint this little picture here for everyone real quick. Imagine you find out about a place that is said to be haunted, and they have tours there. And let's say it's once a week, or at least one day a week, maybe a couple of times in one day, or whatever it is, a couple of times a week, once per night. And you decide to go on this tour. And the tour guide or the paranormal investigator, or however it's done, different places do it different ways, tells you about this person that died on the property, and that the apparition of this person is seen and heard and felt by people. But then you find out later, after you've been there, whether anything happens or not, for you personally, that there is no historical evidence of this person ever having existed. But there are people over years, decades, however long the place has been sort of having people in and around the location, people have claimed to see this person that supposedly never existed. So is there an error in historical evidence? It's always possible. Or did all the stories, all the repeated tellings of this one story, really, maybe with slight variations over time, did that telling of that story to dozens, hundreds, thousands of people lead to all that energy from and emotion from the telling of the story to people hearing the story, thinking about the story, thinking about this individual? Did all that energy somehow collect in that location? And is that why people say they have seen this figure, even if it possibly the person never existed? And that's where my mind went with this to start with anyway. I have other sort of parallels to get to maybe later on, but that's what's fascinating to me about this is it's sort of like a party. It's sort of like a party in a game. Because you have all these people that are getting together, and some may not believe, some may believe, some may really be wanting a paranormal experience, others may just be hopeful but not expecting it. You have all this different energy and different emotions going on, but it's all centered around this one story that is told over and over again.
Which I like to call human resonant energy, because it exists in storytelling. It exists in all these things, even though what you're describing is sort of a ghost tour that may have information that's incorrect. It may have non-historical information. They may have just made it up to do the ghost tour or whatever, which is fine. That's not fine, but you know what I mean? It happens all the time. But that exact thing, it doesn't matter, because the mind space of the people coming to see the entity or whatever the dungeon master, dare I suggest, or the tour guide in this instance is describing, and all the literature about the haunted thing and the person that's supposedly doing the haunting, it makes a ton of sense here, because this is exactly what we're dealing with sort of a collective mind space of people together expecting to see a particular outcome. And maybe, just maybe, sort of through fear, through exultation, being excited, all the things, maybe they do manifest something that they can see. And, we've talked about pop-out topoids and all kinds of stuff in the past regarding that. And what does that look like? And I think it is very possible to get sort of synced in a mind space with a small group of people. I think we do it all the time. Like shout out Derek. He was like, we're kind of finishing each other's sentences now. We're on the same page when it comes to a lot of these narratives. Even though, look, I'm just making stuff up as I go most of the time when I'm pulling a narrative in. Just like, okay, well, let's try this and see how this works. And you guys get it. You just pick it up like I fumbled the football and just run it down the field. And it's weird. It's amazing. And I think, describing it to you guys is easy because you understand exactly what I mean. But in the larger context of a conversation, we're talking about society. We're talking about sort of syncing mind spaces. And, we don't have to talk politics, but it's a perfect example of that larger egregore. Or a football team. Again, it's football season and playoffs or whatever. The egregore of the San Francisco 49ers. Go Niners, right? It's an interesting thing to talk about and think about. And certainly you can sort of preload it by the expectation you get going in. Now, James, regarding the flow state, do you think it is possible for a group, like a smallerish group, to get into a flow state together and maybe sort of elevate their own consciousness, maybe even incrementally, or have some sort of alternative experience that they couldn't have by themselves? How do you think that plays in the larger piece here?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I've heard of, and I've experienced it myself, where certain combinations of people seem to have more paranormal experiences together. But then when they get one other person, or if one person is missing from the group that usually has the experiences, nothing happens. It's funny. I always talk about how I had my first experiences that I can remember at my aunt and uncle's house with my cousin. But he never had any experiences there in his own house himself. It was only when we were there together that we had experiences in his house. So I do think it can have to do with energy, can have to do with emotions, with how close people are together. Whether it's related or not, whether it's relatives or not, just in a relationship and a friend, doesn't matter the type of positive relationship, but I think it can possibly lead to that. Yeah, having, we each have our own energies, and maybe that does lead to certain configurations of people causing experiences of any kind, really.
Yeah, sort of like a modern alchemy of consciousness. You get the right people in the mix. And you brought this up before we started too. An interesting aspect of this is that, on a ghost tour, imagine you have a couple jokers who are just kind of there to make fun of everybody or whatever. It certainly is annoying, they're kind of making the dumb jokes they do. And that's fine. Whatever. Everybody has fun in their own way. But it certainly brings down sort of the expectation level of the people that are there to maybe witness something that they think they inhabits or haunts or whatever. And so, you kind of get some chuckleheads in there that don't have the same sort of wavelength, or sort of mix and match that group of people and put them in the same place. And you may get an unbelievable amount of different experiences that come out of it. And maybe even something transcendent to the point where you kind of conjure something together, at least that you see, with your mind's eye, as I always like to say. Pretty wild stuff. And that was James's idea. I ripped that off from him, but go ahead if you got anything on that.
No, and no problem. But and also there's plenty of cases where people go with, let's say, a more skeptical person goes with a person that has had experiences or feels these things are real, paranormal things are real. Yeah, sometimes depending on who you're with and everything, sometimes maybe nothing will happen. If I could talk clearly, that'd be nice. But other times, something will happen, and it'll completely change the point of view of the skeptical person that went along with someone that they're close to, just because, well, they were either traveling or so literally there's nothing else to do, or they're not in a familiar area, so they're not going to just stay at the hotel room alone or whatever. So it really, the randomness is there in all these kinds of experiences, I think, almost as much as it is in any kind of possibly a tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah, absolutely. And as usual, right? And you guys know this if you've know anything about these tabletop role-playing games, one joker can kind of spoil it for everybody. They kind of don't role play well. They sort of step out of their role a lot to just kind of cause chaos in the space. Like, that's another thing entirely. But again, sinking in a mind space, and I messed up the name. I called it a party Egregore, the name of the show tonight. Should have called it this. I'm reading the write-up and I'm like, damn it, I missed this. I missed this part. But it's what is it? It's I'll get it in a second. It's really good. I should have called it something else. So I fumbled that, and hopefully one of you guys will pick up the fumble and run it into the end zone because it's football season. But you get the idea. There's a lot going on with this, but we're talking the mental space of sort of this shared reality, a consensual fantasy in where we see in our mind's eye the same thing as described by all, which is incredible. And it doesn't happen as much as it should really in the modern space in the modern day, except it's accelerating because people are playing these games quite a bit more than they ever did, which is great because, like I said, you're detaching from the internet and you're sharing a mind space with people you enjoy being around, which is an incredible thing. Got about a minute left if you got anything to add, James. So we got tons to get to, which we will momentarily here.
Yeah, I'll just sort of hint at what I'm going to talk about later if there's time. There are similar events now involving looking for cryptids, Bigfoot, and or UFOs, where people they run businesses around this, where, oh, this is a hot spot. I've heard about this. Maybe I've had experiences there. I want to bring other people here to have experiences if possible. And or at the very least tell them of my experiences while they're here. And so I've heard of this happening now with these other sort of silos of the paranormal. And I think it's fascinating that all these things are happening now in different settings and for different phenomena.
Well said. Well said. You're the best. I'll tell you about James when we get back. We are taking your calls tonight at 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More on the way. More with James and your calls as well. What do you know about this? Is it possible to sync brains into some sort of flow state, a collective flow state, with individuals sitting next to you at a tabletop role-playing game? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
On the cracked stone floor, spoke names our tongues were never meant to form. Candles bled, a river smoke curled like a crooked crown. We carved our hunger in the air, and it looked down. Dragon exists because we willed it, teeth from every vow we broke. The dragon exists because we fed it, breathe made of every word we spoke. We called it, we called it, now it coils around our throat. Scriptures flared in a heavy gust. Every secret that stood up screaming from the dust.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. You know the drill, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. Right on the top, just click play. It says listen live. You can click that, and when we're live, you actually hear us live, plus 24 hours of fantastic programming, including, of course, James Salcido and many others, which we got James here with us tonight, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds. Tonight we're talking, I'm calling this, what did I call this? It's a bad name. It's my fault. A party egregore. But this is better. The dragon exists because we willed it. We're talking about tabletop role-playing games. And let me read the blurb here. It's probably better to just read it straight. Is your life a campaign, or are you just an NPC in someone else's story? The adventuring party is a blueprint for a specialized collective intelligence that can bypass the filters of our individual perceptions. We are exploring the metaphysics of the table ritual and why the dice might be the only honest thing left in a world of synthetic identities and deep fake realities. Yeah. See, who says AI sucks all the time? sometimes it's pretty good. Sometimes it's pretty good. Love to hear your thoughts. Is it possible? A lot of things here in play, and is it possible to kind of get in a collective zone? We've talked about the flow state individually, but is it possible that we can do this together? And I think, like I said, to you guys that participate in this show on a daily basis or whenever we do it, it's not a shock to you that we can. I think it is possible. But do you think that it's something that we're more and more seeing, and something that we'll do more and more as people sort of start to detach from the internet and from AI, which is happening? We already have that big backlash. So this is not necessarily an AI show, but you get the idea, okay? A couple other things here. So when 4 people sit at a table, they cease to be individuals and become a single unit. With a combat turn and a shared inventory, which is the tabletop role-playing game. So does this collective focus create a literal psychic field? Okay, that's the point. So group flow states really comes into question here, and not just the possibility for us. How do you manifest this? And is this the same thing as old ritual magic? Because it sure feels kind of like that when you think about the rituals you see, holding the hands with the candles lit, and the moaning and the groaning. You know what I mean? The chanting is really what I should have said there. It sounded bad when I said it the other way, but you get my point. There are all manner of rituals and all manner of things that kind of happen. And is it possible that we can still sort of invoke this group flow state today in 2026? Welcome to 2026. James Salcedo, of course, we're going to talk to him in just a second. Hang tight, James. Go give him a follow on all the places. SalcedoParanormal.com is where you find everything. Go check out his books, check out his podcast. And as you know, he's not just a dear friend, a brilliant guy, and he's the glue of the show. So thanks again for being here with us tonight, James. You were the best. Anything to add to what I said, or anything that maybe we should kind of lead into? And as usual, guys, we're taking your calls if you want to be part of the conversation. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Welcome back, James.
Yeah, thank you. And it's funny. Excuse me. Before the show started, we were chatting a little bit, and first I said I don't know if I have anything for this tonight, and I don't know where it came from, but it just hit me like, well, wait, And then I realized the whole similarity between the paranormal investigation groups, the tours, all that, but also this is making me think of just groups of people that get together to do projects, whether it's writing or a show. I think of all the times I've ever been part of a show where the whole thing just seemed to flow by, and everyone had just amazing ideas. And obviously, I mean, I'm very lucky. I've been part of a lot of great shows. But every once in a while, there's one show where just nothing works out the way you want it to exactly, or it's okay, but it's not great. But then there are some shows where it seems to go almost perfectly, as far as the conversation goes. And I do think that is a type of a flow state as well. And it's a group, but it's purely thought. It's purely, thought and talking. But I mean, it's mostly thinking. And every time I've had one of those experiences, it's always just been the feeling after the fact has been just amazing. Like, wow, I was part of something amazing here.
Yeah, and it happens often. I mean, with us, with the group, it's just wild stuff that kind of comes out of this. It's weird. It is. I don't know. Like, you can't even plan it. Sometimes, sometimes I go away too thinking, I laid an egg that was terrible. And then I go back and listen, and I'm kind of shocked at how good the all of us kind of together, like I said, picked up the ball. Even if I fumbled it, there's always somebody there to kind of pick it up and take the narrative, which is amazing. So yeah, I mean, I think this is certainly a thing, but do you think that it's something that, I don't know, we should kind of get back into as a specific direct way of communing with each other? I guess, we talk about communing with nature and the old ways of, the esotericism of ritual, but in 2026, it's an interesting aspect that we don't commune with each other enough. And I think in this capacity, we are talking about actual communing with each other, sitting around a table and not, invoking some weird ritual where we're trying to summon some nefarious entity from a nether plane or something. But instead, the ritual is camaraderie. It's a camaraderie ritual, which is an incredible thing to think about. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like I said, a lot of ways to look at this, and you don't have to be a D&D fan to kind of get into this idea, because we're talking about a collective mind space. And what does that look like, not just for a small group, but a larger group, a medium group? And do you think it is something we've been led away from? Maybe this was the magic of old that maybe might save us in 2026. I don't know. That's what's on my mind tonight. I got some other stuff to get to, which I will in a second. Anything on that, James? And I'll dive right into this stuff.
Yeah, I just think, whether it's writing or whether it's talking or whether it's even, creating any kind of project where there's a group, I think that, you can tell when it's going really well because you're barely noticing time going by, or there's all these different signs of when you're in that flow state versus when you're not and things are just kind of going okay or they're not going well. I did want to mention too, real quick, the examples I gave earlier of the cryptid hunts or investigations of areas where they were said to be Bigfoot or whatever, and then the whole alien thing, hotspots for UFOs and all that. That is a fairly, as far as I've heard, that is a fairly recent thing overall. I mean, it may have been done years ago, but now I feel like through different podcasts I've heard. And all that, that's where some people have experiences, is they find out about this group or that group in an area, and they go there, and sometimes they have experiences, and other times they don't. But yeah, I think it's fascinating that these are things that are happening now. And again, it is sort of also still disconnecting from the internet. You're going someplace else to have possibly have an experience, and maybe you don't have the one you planned on, but it can still be amazing depending on the people there and how everything goes.
Yeah, an interesting sort of parallel here is as you're describing, like the Stephen Greer stuff, the CE5, where they get this group of people, they go into the desert and they basically commune with each other, right? Except they're also trying to summon things. So that's a whole different aspect. I'm not talking about that tonight, but it is interesting that in 2026 those types of things are happening where they're like, yeah, let's go out to the desert. We'll hold hands and light some candles and try and summon down some lights in the sky. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I too weird? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, I think that's, obviously that's the most well-known example of that, but I would be very surprised if there aren't people or groups that are doing that sort of on their own smaller level around parts of the U.S. and possibly elsewhere. So that was my last little point I wanted to add there.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry to interrupt you there. We just kind of started at the same time. Yeah, and I think you're right. There's probably a lot of that stuff, the communing with nature we talk about, but not communing with each other. And it's obviously one of the most sacred things we can do for a lot of reasons. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, guys. We're looking for your call, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Appreciate you. Thanks for popping in here. Jorge, welcome to Troubled Minds. Happy New Year to you and yours. Just accept the thing and unmute, and welcome. How are you tonight? And go right ahead, sir.
Doing great. Mike, how are you doing?
Pretty good. No complaints out of me. Welcome to the joint. You sound great. And what's on your mind? Go right ahead.
I am doing great. Man, there's so much so much I could say. There's a book by Sam Quinones called Dreamland. And the book it's actually about opiates. It's kind of like a weird thing. But he said that why do we have the problem? He wrote the book probably about like 20 years ago. Why do we have the problem with opiates now, but we didn't have it before? And then he said that before, like in the 60s and the 70s and even the 80s, I remember this, people cared about each other. Like neighborhoods, actually looked after like each other's kids. It's like he says that the name of the book is called Dreamland. And the reason why he called it Dreamland is because there used to be kind of like a neighborhood pool where all the people in his neighborhood used to drop off their kids and just go about their days. And that was kind of like daycare, it's kind of like they drop off their kids and then the kids just played in the pool and everybody cared about each other and everybody was mindful of what everybody else was doing and just they took care of each other. And so that to me is one of the most beautiful egregores ever, where a neighborhood cares about each other, whereas now our lives are so busy and so nasty that now everybody just is kind of like looking out for themselves,
Yeah, well said. It does harken back to 100%. It harkens back to that 80s effect. Like that's the way it was. Like you knew the names of the kids on your street. And their parents knew you. And we're kind of painting this idyllic vision, which I'm sure wasn't everywhere, but it is what I experienced, and everybody would know, okay, so after school, we're all going to go over to such and such's house because for whatever reason, they have TV and we're going to go watch TV or something, or they have a basketball hoop and we're going to go play, shoot hoops with them or whatever. And everybody just kind of knew the schedule, and everybody knew where we were at all times because that's just where we were. It's what we did because everybody was always looking after us. And as you said, the beautiful part of it is the community is looking after each other. And you are right. That is a gorgeous egregore, and we need to get back to that 100%. Well said.
Well, I'm afraid that those times are gone.
Well, they don't have to be.
Now it's like
they don't have to be though. Like if we remember them, we remember what they feel like and how it is, we can start to bring them back. I think that becomes part of the question tonight, right?
I don't know. It's just like, in a way, I don't know. I moved to another state, and in this state, like it's a lot more like that, like still like the 80s thing, where like like my kids play with neighbor kids, and I kind of trust them. But things are like cities are getting so big, and things are getting so weird that it's hard to like do it. And then everybody, even the culture. Like I remember, like as a youth, I became a Freemason, and I joined like weird, like occult societies. And the reason why I joined them is because I was so intrigued by them. And now it's like there are some people that tell me, it's like, well, you should start a branch in your state. It's like, yeah, I have no interest in doing that. It's like, it just don't. And then it's like, it's like, I don't know if I should tell you, it's like, which goes to like a Egregore. It's like, I used to belong to the Golden Dawn back in like the early 2000s. And, it's like, to me, it was fascinating. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm part of like a mystical mystery, school, where I'm learning all this really cool stuff and I'm hanging out with this really cool stuff. And we got to experience some really cool stuff, or at least I did. And, it's like, to me, it was like, it fed my soul. But now it's like, I'm probably old. And so I just hang out with like my family, and that makes me happy. I play music and I write music, and people are just like, oh, when are you going to publish it? Never. Like,
I'm just doing it for myself.
It's like, I write books. It's like, oh, when are you going to publish it? Probably never. It's like I wrote a book about tarot about like maybe like 10 years ago. It's like, oh man, I share some of it. And somebody was like, when are you going to publish it? You finally were able to explain tarot with astrological, explanations. When are you going to publish it? Never. It's like, no. Why? Why should I publish it? It's like, I really do not care about showing it to anybody. And then in a way, it kind of reminds me of like that concept of like the hermit. It's like I have become the hermit. It's like I have absolutely no intention of teaching anybody anything or participating in anything because I just don't feel the need to do so. I don't want to be a leader of anything. I really don't want to experience that anymore because now I can experience it by myself. I don't need people to do it anymore. I did, I did group work. The Golden Dawn is a ceremonial group. And so that was kind of like my thing. Yeah, it's like, I experienced some cool things, but, now, like I said, it's like now I can do it by myself. I don't need the group anymore. And then people think, I don't know, what do they call us? Gatekeepers.
Oh.
You're the gatekeepers. It's like, well, I really don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny, when you reach a certain age, at least for me, and sounds like for you too, you're just like, so what? Call me whatever you want to call me. Like, it doesn't bother me one single bit. I'm going to go be over here doing my own thing, enjoying myself. You go be negative somewhere else. It's fine. It's so wild. It's I don't know. It was so decoupled from our youth. Most of our youth was stuck kind of in those social cycles of people being nasty to each other and all the rest. And it just doesn't have to. I mean, kids, speaking of kids, not the Egregore, the beautiful Egregore you're describing, but like, kids are just nasty to each other. And, you know, it's like, it's a childlike behavior to be nasty to people for no reason. If you don't like the thing that's going on, hey, go do something else. Go do what makes you happy. Like, don't go hate watch YouTube. Go watch YouTube and find something you enjoy. That's what this is all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was also like, the culture was very different. Like back in the, I don't know, maybe because I'm a Gen Xer, it's like people worked hard. It's like when I used to be part of that ceremonial group, I worked my ass off. It's like I set up the lodge, you know, I did the furnishings, I sewed my own like garments, like by hand. I make my own tools. And nowadays it's like people that want to, like, you know, there were some people that were trying to do it up in San Francisco. And they were like, okay, this is the stuff that you need to do. And this is the stuff you need to learn. I was like, do I need to learn this? It's like, that's the point. It's like,
that's why you're here, isn't it?
It's like, if you're going to be lazy, bro, it's like, why are you here? And if you don't want to do the work, why are you here? You know, and then everybody's like, now it's like, what is that, instant gratification? They just want to be part of something without really putting the work to do it. And us Gen Xers is like, you have the incentive to like work your ass off. And that's part of the learning process. And if you're not willing to, you know, do it, then it's like, why are you doing it? And then it's like the egregore. It's like the what you are gonna get is what you're gonna put in. Period. You know, so it's not like, oh, I'm part of a group. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. It's like, it is the work that you do that, you know, that will bring you the rewards. Otherwise, you know, you're just, you know, doing mental gymnastics here, you know, just thinking that you belong to something. And when, if you don't put in the work, it doesn't mean anything. You know?
Yeah. And again, you know how I feel about, I am also Gen X. And so I have a special heart in a place in my heart for Gen X, because that's where I grew up. It's most of what I know. Most of the people that I connect with, most of them, not all, are going to be Gen X, because it's, you know, my friend circle, the people that I've known for years and years and years. But also there are, as you're describing, people that work equally hard that are not Gen X. And so that maybe you're honorary Gen X, or just kind of displaced and feel like they don't belong in a digital world anyway. You know what I mean? I think we're going to see more and more of that backlash, more of that sort of, you know, dare I suggest the Amish egregore kind of step up, and people are like, you know what? I don't even want a phone. Like, I'm going to go learn to weld, and I'm going to go have a good life. And that's going to be that, right? And, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like there's this backlash coming where that's going to be the thing, because there are, I mean, I know young people that work so hard, and my heart breaks for them because they're working 3 jobs. You know, I'm working with them in the daytime, and, you know, they're working at night, some other job, and on the weekend, some other thing, just to make ends meet. You know, they got a kid, and it's just like, man, it's not as easy as it used to be. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you, Gen X forever, but also, by the way, we need to be some mentors and a helping hand to our elders, and then some mentors and some friends to some people that maybe don't see this yet, because I think it's coming. I think that sort of egregore of the Amish is on the way. It just, how quickly does it get here? And I guess how quickly do we all get laid off from AI taking our jobs is really the question.
Well, I don't know. From what you describe as to what you do, I don't think you'll ever get laid off. Someone has to, you know, go to places and do what you do.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not like, yeah,
maybe.
Like I could get laid off. Sometimes I'm thinking it's like, oh, the stuff that I do is like, I mean, shit, you know, someone can create a Python program to like do in like a day what it takes me like 3 to 6 months to do, you know?
Yeah, it's happening. I'm doing it. I'm one of those guys. I'm doing it. I'm like, damn, I don't even know Python, and I'm doing it.
Yeah, just, you know.
I'm sorry, it's funny, not funny, but you see why I'm laughing, because I honestly don't know Python, but I could probably whip up something in Python tonight. You know what I mean? Like, that's how wild the world has got. You just ask. You ask one thing to an LLM. Hey, how do I do this in Python? And I know PHP. I know my SQL. That's where I cut my teeth on coding, to JavaScript and HTML, all that stuff, right? But I don't know any Python. But how do I do this in Python? It'll tell you. It'll be like, oh, since you're familiar with this, here's how you do it, and I'll make it easy for you to understand kind of the transition. And then I'm building in Python. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know. So are you completely against that? Like you haven't sort of adopted these AI tools to code to help you sort of improve workflows and things, or are you just completely detaching and playing the guitar in the corner?
No, it helps me write, because a lot of my work is like I have to explain things in a verbal way. It's like, I'm a very technical person, but yet I have to like explain it to people. It's like, this is what I'm doing, and this is what's going to happen, and this is, if you do this is what's going to happen, and this in this amount of time, this is what's going to happen. And so that's basically my job. And so it's kind of like to evaluate all of these things, but we have to like dig into like maybe like 6 tools to be able to determine that, and then make analysis to come up with a conclusion. But then it's like, well, it's like, if you can create like Python, you just get, and AI can just dig through all of those databases and try to figure it out. But then again, it's like our stuff is kind of sensitive, so I don't think that will ever happen, because they're probably going to think that there needs to be a human kind of like making that determination. So I don't know. I'm hoping I will not get fired in the next 5 years.
I'm also hoping for you that you don't. Again, none of us know what the future looks like. We've never kind of been at this point in human history. And again, me, a white pill guy. I'm hoping for the best here. I think I see abundance happening where maybe people can work 3-day work weeks, and it's cool. That would be incredible, because of the productivity tools. But if, a 3-day work week means you can't feed yourself, then that's not incredible. So we have to be able to figure out what it looks like from, point A to point B to point C, where we have that quote abundance. And if you want to work, you do. And if you don't, you kind of don't. And that's cool. But I've seen Terminator too. So,
you are way too optimistic.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I will seriously doubt that will ever happen. I mean, they're like, I don't know, my dad was an economist, and he also worked in politics. And so he told me that the Americans worked so hard to have their kids not work. I mean, back in like after World War II, they made so much money, and they designed their financial institutions to work for them, but yet they're starving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does that even work?
Yeah.
How could they make so much money and yet not have any money? And then he said, it's because there are financial institutions or some rich person takes them from them. So that nest egg that was procured for them was stolen by somebody or something. And so when people are saying, it's like, well, yeah, you don't have to work in the future because AI will do everything for you, is like, then someone's going to take it. So whatever wealth is there to be had, someone's going to take it for their own profit. So when you say, it's like, it's like, we don't have to work, it's like, that's never going to happen.
They're going to. I didn't say that.
They're going to figure out a way to screw us.
I said in my white pill vision of the future, which might be a pipe dream. So we're on the same page. And so they stole that from us, not just through pensions that kind of evaporated. Shout out to our parents' generation, which sucks. The boomers got screwed on a lot of that, but also they stole it with straight up inflation by just pumping money into the economy. And now what we did have now is worth nothing. So yeah, your economist father and your economist mind would completely and be in with that. We're just about out of time, brother. If you want to stick after the break, you're welcome to. You tell me. Thank you for calling. Happy New Year to you and yours, and appreciate you very much. I didn't get an answer, so we'll be back with Jorge if he's got more with James as well. Looking to hear your thoughts tonight. I'm calling this a party egregore. The dragon exists because we willed it. So if we willed it and we deal with it, can we also will it to be gone? Shoe Dragon Shoe. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More on the way. Go give Jorge a follow at troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It's alphabetical. Go check out his YouTube channel and the projects he's working on. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, I'm calling this a party egregore. The dragon exists because we willed it, and we're talking about tabletop role-playing games. The old school way, when you used to meet in the garage in 1985 with your friends and roll some acrylic dice, plastic dice, and dream about slaying the dragon. Well, the dragon exists because the dragon is in our mind. We willed it collectively within a small group. Now, an egregore scales. So what does that look like in the largest context, and how weird does this get? Do you think it's possible to enter a flow state with actual group of people? I mean, we've talked about the flow state, like an athlete flow state, or, you know, that type of stuff. A writer kind of in the zone, just kind of cranking out chapters they've been thinking about for months that they can crank out in minutes or days or weeks or whatever. And so it exists for sure, but does it exist in a collective space? And that's what's on my mind tonight. And a lot of ways to look at this, which we'll get to. Thank you guys for being patient. 702-957-1037. Let's finish up with Jorge if he's got anything left. Thanks again for being the radio pro. Instantly mute the second the music came on. If you got anything else to add, brother, welcome back. Thanks. Happy New Year to you and yours again. And if you got a final thought, I'd love to hear it.
No, I'm good, brother. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. Appreciate it very much. Or hey, go check out his YouTube channel and all the projects he's working on, troubledminds.org/friends. And it says alphabetical. Or hey, let me scroll down. I'll show you. Click friends, scroll down right there, in there. Just click it. It's free. Go visit and go share these amazing people around the internet, because they just definitely deserve it. You see how smart all these individuals are that are part of the show. Okay, so anything to add to any of that, James? We had a ton of stuff that we covered there, but I think Jorge's spot on. I think he gets it. And so what does it mean for you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, great call as well. I'm just wondering, I'm imagining, sort of scaling that tabletop RPG world the way I scaled the paranormal thing in my mind, the paranormal tourism thing in my mind, where, I mean, you probably know this better than I do. How many people played D&D in the 80s to 90s to whatever? I mean, and if you think about all the similar campaigns and the number of groups of people that focused on any one character or creature in that whole universe, it makes me wonder, again, does all that also combine in some way? All those games, all those thoughts about, let's go with the title of Dragons or whatever. I wonder about that as well, because it seems like it'd be possible for it to do that in some way, just the same way it does for the paranormal side, like I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, maybe. And I think there's an interesting space there too, because the mind space of people that play D&D in, let's say 1985 or 1987 is very small. It was not a thing yet. I mean, it was just sort of a growing thing, but it was not a worldwide thing yet. And so, and there was even that satanic panic, right? Where moms were stealing their kids' D&D books and burning them or throwing them away or whatever, because it got news coverage where it was, they were summoning Satan or something by playing these games, right? Because, they had devils in the books and stuff. And so it did creep them out. And there was that Egregore panic way back. And I don't know, like, take that mind space of that tiny group of people playing and then sort of grow it to the extent it is now. And many, many millions of people are playing and listening and talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I don't really know. I don't know what it looks like. And yeah, I think it's a good point, though. It's definitely worth thinking about this in terms of the social constructionism, which, again, links are in the description if you want to read about this stuff. It's pretty wild sociologically. But anything else? And we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker.
Well, it's making me think of now, too. There are figures that have existed like shadow figures. People have been seeing shadow figures throughout time, based on reports, but eventually they got to be bigger because of the internet and variations of them and horrific events. I won't go into, but it does make me wonder. Were there only a few? Was there only a little bit of that going on earlier in time, but now because of people getting together and focusing on all these things and thinking about them more, has that amplified the whole? Really, you could say the whole paranormal anomalous world because of all that focus on it.
Yeah, 100%. Sort of the zeitgeist itself is sort of really attentive to the paranormal stuff and the planar stuff and the gates and the all the weird the stuff that comes with Stranger Things. You're absolutely right. Appreciate you very much. Hang tight. We got Derek coming up, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org.
Yo, what's going on, Brutus?
Derek the Night Stalker. What's up, buddy? I appreciate that very much. How you doing tonight? Welcome to the joint. I found your song again, and welcome back. How you feeling, sir? And go right ahead. As you know, a lot of weird things going on in my mind and in this space, but I think you're up to the challenge.
Yeah, I got a lot going on. I'm taking my lunch like less than an hour into my shift, so my mind's a little bit scattered, but I got a bunch of thoughts here. Great show so far. Great stuff, James. But I want to get into like the group flow state and stuff. But you just mentioned the role playing game aspect of it, so it just hit me right now. With the playing roles in our personality gets me to think about the AI and the AI personalities and kind of how we like train the AI based on and like give it roles and give it names and give it like you're pretend to be this person and then you can do this and this and this and then it's better at finding the information that you want. There's one video that's going around on Facebook that I saw of this guy being like, this will blow your mind, try this, or there's a scientific experiment that proved this, yada yada. But if you take like a singer and have them sing a note like as high as you can, they'll sing at like say like B level, just say or level B or whatever. And then they go, okay, now, but pretend, they say to the singer, okay, this time, pretend that you were the best singer in the world. How would they sing that note? And then the next time they'll sing it higher, no matter what. And they said it works with everything. If you want to play a sport, you'll play it at one level B, and then to get to level A, to tell yourself, well, what if how would the best basketball player in the world shoot this free throw? And then your percentage will go up, which is just a weird thing. And makes me think, well, that's exactly how you train the AI. So what is that saying about how you train our mind? And but the belief in how we like fill these roles and identify these different roles and kind of like a method acting, how actors will identify with a certain like a role and embrace that personality for a time and kind of collect that their mannerisms and stuff. That I wonder if our belief in ourself and our belief in the external world and just the power of belief, et cetera, including choosing roles, can like if we believe we're in a campaign, then does that turn reality into a moldable campaign? I have more thoughts, but just to get started, what do you think about that?
Yeah, totally. There's actually some articles in here talking about exactly that. Like people that have been, how do I say it? I don't want to turn this into a dark space, but have been treated very poorly in their past. And sort of the campaigns of role playing in Dungeons and Dragons kind of embodied them to sort of face that in the real world and be able to kind of get themselves out of a precarious situation that they had been in for a long time, that they really, knew better, but for whatever reason, they didn't know they had the strength in them to kind of do that. And it's called bleed over. And there's an actual, couple articles down here talking about it. So specifically, the study finds fantasy roleplay can bleed into the real world and change lives. And it's interesting because it's the opposite of the satanic panic. It's not like, oh, look, people are, doing terrible things to themselves by their train tracks on the wrong side of the town or whatever. They're actually changing their lives for better, for which is incredible to me. I mean, this is good. This is the opposite of the satanic panic based on this bleed over effect as you're describing.
Yeah, it's just to give a pop culture example, and no spoilers, but in the most recent season of Stranger Things, this is in the beginning, so I can mention this, but Mike gives Holly that necklace, like Holly the heroic or whatever, and if she is in trouble or scared or facing what he believes is an imaginary friend, then if she can assume the role and they're big role, like he's a big role playing game person. So he like the will the wise whole thing. Like they're assuming these roles to give themselves strength to fight these, in the show, real monsters, but made up monsters that just assuming the role of somebody that has some kind of more grip over reality can give you more grip over reality potentially. But just with the team dynamics or the multiple people having like syncing up together, you mentioned, and you gave the example that I wanted to give about how like in a group we'll sync up. So like we'll start using the same terms, and we'll start in a good way. We'll start just like I don't know, the same way you can tell that a family is a family because they'll use the same mannerisms and stuff. That like friends can become family in this way. But team dynamics in sports is an important thing, and they have like quote unquote chemistry guys, or like bad chemistry guy, or team chemistry. And if there's like in a trade, a team can get what appears to be kind of the bad end of the trade according to the stats and like the rankings, all that kind of stuff. But the chemistry guy, if this person's a good locker room guy, a good team chemistry guy, it will raise the whole ceiling of the whole team. And just kind of another way to, like, chemistry is based on alchemy. So I think it's funny if you think of it like, oh, they're a big alchemy guy, or the team alchemy is really good, or the team's in a good flow state, so they're playing above their perceived ceiling and stuff. That if a team can sync up together, I'm kind of thinking about like how pendulums can sync up. If you have like 5 pendulums like on a desk and they're all swinging at different paces, you start them all at different times. Eventually, they'll all sync up together. So like, what's up with that? So I asked the AI real quick, and briefly, how do you explain to me why do pendulums sync? And it goes, pendulums sync up due to energy transfer and resonance. When multiple pendulums are connected, like a shared wall or surface, they subtly transfer energy, causing their frequencies to align and eventually sync. This is a phenomenon called entrainment, a fundamental principle in physics where coupled oscillators synchronize their rhythms. And I said, does this happen with humans? Yes, human entrainment happens. It's observed in things like brainwave syncing, meditations, concerts, heart rate syncing, couples, crowds, speech patterns, and laughter. So that's social bonding. That's like the groups that sound like whatever. And I found that interesting. That I mean, some woo people will call humans oscillators. In some respects. So we're syncing up like pendulums do, and that's kind of interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, that the AI, like Skynet's like, y'all are just oscillators.
Oscillators,
it's fine. There's no problem at all. Yeah, and we've talked about this quite a lot on the show as well. But that sort of mind space of believing, like you said, with the idea of doing the free throws, do it like the best player in the world, and suddenly your form sort of tightens up just a little bit. And if you can repeat that, then suddenly you're not Steph Curry, but you're certainly performing better than you typically would. And, Bruce Lee, shout out Jen, I think a hand up in the chat there too. So she said, we talked about this in the past, but Bruce Lee said, don't speak negatively of yourself, because if you do, your body doesn't know the difference. It's kind of like this weird space of imagination and reality, and how your brain does or does not tell the difference. And that becomes really what we're talking about here, not just sort of in a personal space, but in a group space. And I think, look, the personal mastery is the way, but then what's the point if you can't teach other people, or sort of encourage other people, or experience that with other people? And that's really what I'm getting at tonight.
Oh, exactly. Real quick, how's my internet? Can you hear me also and everything?
Yeah, you're fine. There's no problems at all.
Oh, mine? Okay. All right, beautiful. Sure. Exactly. And in like the Bible, I'm not sure the exact passage, but something along the lines of when 2 people gather, I'm there. When like more than one person is like speaking my name, then it becomes a church. And so like the God is present in that moment when when one person becomes a pair, then they become a church according to the Bible. So just like reality can be altered, and I don't know, you like, and the AI gave the like concerts, meditation and concerts, and like we talk about like off the show and stuff, how it's more fun to watch movies in groups. It's more fun to watch stuff as a community. We're kind of losing that as the monoculture kind of dies away. Everyone like now the conversation has switched to everybody asking, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Oh, you're there. Like what episode are you on? Oh, like no, you haven't seen that. Oh, it's pretty good. And just kind of like. Whereas 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, everyone's kind of plugged into the same reality. And we talk about it like offline, how these little story campfires going to start popping up, and like individualized niche campfires and smaller communities telling their own stories and stuff. But there is, and say what you will about Hollywood, obviously, but there is some kind of beauty to a shared giant campfire and a shared giant collective story that we're all telling. It's kind of, we're plugging into this shared reality, at least during the time where you're in the horror movie and you're all like, there's an elevation of scares, or if you're in a comedy, you definitely laugh more in a comedy when you're in groups, whether it's like at home or in a theater. That like collective mass aspect of it. And I think conspiratorially, I think that's probably the power of Hollywood, is that there's the classic trope of the magic wands are made using the wood of the holly tree. So Hollywood is a giant magic wand, it's casting spells, it's altering reality potentially, it's changing people's perception, it's changing that triangle in the dark side of the moon. So when source flows through, the prisms are all kind of casting similar shadows, because the colors and the images that are used to paint reality are all shared, because we're all kind of taking in the same content. And conspiratorially, it's kind of scary if they can control us in that way. But just as a fan of entertainment and kind of that shared campfire, I find it interesting. I can get more into that if you want, but I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah, you're good. Real quick. So this is called social constructionism. So I found this as part of the research tonight. And let me just read this. It's like half a paragraph.
Yeah, please.
So it's a term used in sociology, social ontology, and communication theory. The term can serve somewhat different functions in each field. However, the foundation of this theoretical framework suggests various facets of social reality, such as, this is the important part, concepts, beliefs, norms, and values are formed through continuous interactions and negotiations among society's members, rather than empirical observation of physical reality. Meaning exactly what we're talking about, and how things just get weirder and weirder, Terrence McKenna style, because we are not sort of basing that reality on the empirical observation of our world. We're like, oh, the neighbor's freaking out. And so you're freaking out. Like this is the way this is going. And yeah, social constructionism. There's your new term if you hadn't heard it tonight, guys. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, exactly. And there's the, like, taking this stuff to the cool maybe juice level. I mean, we talked about it before, so I'm not like trying to get as much into it for time, but like the idea of Cthulhu being outside of a reality and then sneaking the idea of Cthulhu into the cracks of Lovecraft's mind, or any kind of shattered mind through dreams, or through wherever ideas and inspiration comes from, and having that mind tell the first stories, and those stories gaining popularity until we get to a tipping point where Cthulhu can manifest through that pop-out topoid thing we always talk about. So with movies and stuff, I think talking about UFOs in a certain way, shaped, like we talk about all the time. This is things that we've mentioned a ton before, but just the Kenneth Arnold saw a chevron-shaped craft, but because newspapers ran flying saucer, then people believed that the phenomena looked like a flying saucer. So when they saw the phenomena, it was shaped and it was painted, designed like a flying saucer, because that's the way reality painted it for them and stuff. So I think that's the kind of the importance of Hollywood as the elite magic wand and stuff, because it gives the colors in which we paint our reality, and that's the observer effect. We're painting all reality. And the movie Tomorrowland kind of gets into this, whatever. And like there's a group Plus Ultra that's it's made by Disney, so it's kind of their plus Ultra group's kind of like, what if Disney had all the greatest like minds in this Imagineer like organization, and they actually went and created a pocket reality outside of reality, and they're guiding like humanity from this hidden hand. And spoiler alert for this movie, but it's revealed that they're not like making these things happen, but they control entertainment, and they're putting these apocalyptic things in the movies and stuff to try to warn people. They're putting predictive programming in the movies to try to scare people away from these realities. So the probability of these realities happening lowers. But they're like, well, no, you guys ended up liking these apocalyptic scenarios you see in movies. So now we're barreling closer to them. We're headed these ways. Like it backfired. Like we showed you these things to scare you off of them, but it brought everybody closer to these apocalypses and stuff. And that the movies like steer our like our sails. Our perception of reality is the sails that catch the wind of reality and guide that ship. You know. And I think you see that in all kind of stuff, that like when a person is like scared, a kid is scared naturally, they want to like, or anybody's scared, you want to kind of find another person. And if there's a monster in front of you and it's just you versus you and another person, like the monster probably can still kill you both, but like instinctually you feel safer with more than one person. And maybe it's because like instinctually, you know that this monster's has reality manipulation is stronger than yours, but get multiple people together, then you can control reality a little bit better and get out of the scenario and stuff. Or like a coven of witches is stronger than a single witch, and putting your powers together. And is that another way of saying putting your reality altering abilities together, or a probability like a probability altering abilities together and stuff? I'm rambling. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's brilliant, actually. So think of it this way, like the observer effect, the collapse of the wave function, all that stuff that's been talked about sort of in, taking the quantum stuff that we don't really fully understand and turn it into an esoteric space of consciousness and the rest. Yeah. But imagine the collective version of that. Imagine if you could collapse a singular massive wave function with like a stadium full of people or a church full of people praying. Like, this is the type of stuff that makes you really wonder in your tinfoil tingle when it comes to how much of this reality merging or adapting or changing are we doing collectively. And that really is always on my mind about how, I work with a bunch of really cool people. It's just like kind of a really cool, chill environment. And I'm blessed to be there for that reason. Cause you get one weirdo in there and everything just turns crazy and sour and stuff. And so it's an interesting space because you're like, wow, like one turn could turn this entire thing into just the biggest, crap show you've ever seen. And so I don't know, like, what are we dealing with and how much can this actually collectively change, back to the monks, meditating and the crime rate going down or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but it's certainly something that's been reported in the past and talked about by us and others. So I don't know, like how I guess what are the limits of that really becomes the question.
Yeah. I think the fake it till you make it, fake it till you manifest it thing comes into play here. And I think that's kind of the power of the media and the power of the importance of kind of this mass media and getting the importance of having our attention and stuff. And if you want to get into the entities and everything, that's why the first commandment is I'm the only God. Like, only praise me. It's because only pay attention to me. I'm not saying there's no other gods, but only look at me, because paying attention, observing me makes me more real, and more people observing me, more people syncing up together and having that observer effect makes me more real. And like, I just talk shells. I'm not a physicist and stuff, so I'm not, like, I might be butchering this, but in my understanding, like the Nobel Prize winning physicist in 2023 or 2024 won based on the idea that like nothing is real until it's rendered until it's observed by humanity. That the observer effect is saying that we're rendering everything, that the humanity is rendering everything. So I think that conspiratorially wise, the elites know that. So a lot of their power is given. Like, what if the idea of the Illuminati, the idea that there's a small cabal of people that control like the entire ship, gives them the steering wheel to the ship just because we believe it? Or entity wise, if there's these formless creatures, these formless dragons out there, or these formless pre-thought thought forms out there that want to get form by having us pay attention to them, having us observe them to render a form into reality. And if we're thinking about dragons altogether, then we might render a dragon. So maybe dragons died away not because they were all slayed, but because people got bored with dragon stories and went away from dragon stories for a little while. So the form of the dragon kind of slipped out of the zeitgeist and stuff, and they became something else. They became Loch Ness Monster, or they became cryptids in the forest, or whatever the different stories are telling.
Yeah, you're good. The chevrons that became saucers. Yeah, got a minute left. What if you kind of finish up? Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think it just puts like a lot of power in the hands of the audience. I mean, like when this whole Netflix controlling Warner Brothers, trying to buy Warner Brothers thing, and what if big tech takes over entertainment and the algorithms can be making entertainment? One positive thing about that is that we can control it like we control our news feed. Like we can, it's not about just dumb executives who have their own taste and they're destroying Hollywood. It's in this case, one bright spot is that what we pay attention to, they'll make more of and stuff. And I think that's a microcosm of things. What we pay attention to in reality becomes our reality. So if everything is bad, then your reality will become colored by that. If everything is good, I mean, and then if everybody's thinking about tentacles, then maybe tentacles will come out of a portal somewhere. But For sure. Yes. Thank you.
You're the best. Fantastic call. As always, you know him, you love him. That's Derek the Night Stalker. Go give him a follow in all the places. You know where to do that. troubledminds.org/friends. Just scroll down after you click friends there, or /friends, go direct, and it says the Night Stalker. Or is it under N or T? I think it's N, right? I got to check myself. It is under N, Night Stalker. He's got a YouTube channel. Go give him a follow. It's completely free. Let's help each other out. That's what this is all about. Getting together and talking about wild ideas and considering what may or may not be true. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. I'm Michael Strange. This is Troubled Minds. More from James coming up. We got Jen in Missouri and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More on the way. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. All the places, all the things, troubledminds.org. Make sure to listen to the radio station. Thanks for hanging out with us and being part of this tonight. Don't forget to follow our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. There's a lot of people that have made this show go over the years. It's not just me, it's us. It is Troubled Minds. It is not a troubled mind. Tonight we're talking about, I'm calling it a party Egregore, which is my fault for a terrible name, but the dragon exists because we willed it. Is your life a campaign, or are you just an NPC in someone else's story? The adventuring party is a blueprint for a specialized collective intelligence that can bypass the filters of our individual perceptions. Exactly like we were talking about with Derek the Night Stalker there. And the term comes into this exact space as social constructionism. Again, look into it and you'll see what I mean. This is not something I'm just randomly, blatantly making up as some kind of nonsense. It's interesting as an edge case because how deep and how weird does this get? That becomes the question. I don't know. And that's why we should talk about it together. Anything to add, James? And then we'll go to Jen. Thanks for being patient, my man.
Yeah, great call from Derek. It's making me think of this trend I'm seeing now in recent years where anytime anything new comes out, any kind of movie or TV show, or sometimes I imagine comic books, those characters are put into games, and not just one game here or there, multiple games, multiple game universes. And I'm just thinking now, how many of each of those characters are in those universes now? How many people are playing the same character? And, spreading the idea of that character around even further. And I mean, this is even happening with Stranger Things now. They have a Minecraft pack that's inspired by Stranger Things. They've had Beetlejuice in a game. I forget which. I think it was Multiverses or something like that. And these aren't really games. I'm not a huge gamer, but I play some here and there. And so I just wondered, now how much focus is there now? People not only putting those images out there more, but also imagining on some level what it's like to be Batman or Beetlejuice or any number of characters from Stranger Things even.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like, ask the AI based on my social media posts or whatever. Which Stranger Things character am I? And we're all 11 or whatever. It's like, okay. It's like, okay. Or back in the 80s, 1987 or 88, we were all Link from the Legend of Zelda. So you're absolutely right. It is weird how it's kind of changed, not just our mindset in terms of the fractal of characters available now. You can watch anything you want. But yeah, I don't know. Great point on all of the above. And you're the best. Hang tight. We'll get back to you momentarily. That's James Salcido, of course, of Salcido Paranormal. Let's go to Jen in Missouri, the actual other host of Salcido Paranormal on the weekends. And welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? And go right ahead. What is on your mind? There's a lot here to talk about because, well, that's what we do. How you doing? And it's all yours.
Doing good. Yeah, this is very interesting. I love this topic. I mean, I think attention is a ritual, whether we know it or not. You have to be careful too, I think, with people you don't know when trying to do things like, and unless the experiment is meant to see what that would bring. Like, I've been in seances and in use of Ouija. I remember a time we made a board in a house that I'd moved into with friends and family. I didn't think it would do anything, but I kind of knew that it might. And we began with 4 people, and it didn't do anything. And I said that there's nothing to this. And it had intelligent response. It said things like it was, that it was powerful, or they could do this, that, or that. And I said, well, basically, show me. And it was in moments, the light went out. The light was a lamp across the floor away from the table, and the light went out, and we all stopped, kind of startled. And then I got up and looked. We got up and we looked, and the cable was in the middle of the floor. It was unplugged, and it was flung into the middle of the floor. And we asked it a series of questions, and then eventually, went on and considered that we should even get rid of the board. It was that serious. It was that bizarre. And there was also an incident, so much so that we began to only do it outside on the porch, kind of believing that it was better than doing it in the house. And it did. It increased even there. We photographed the table. We would see orbs of colors around the table, and even what would look like a sort of filter over the people at the table, or a few or one individual at the table. A filter, almost like a superimposed sort of face, or like a sort of some kind of shape over people's faces, even around the table. And we recorded EVP that one of the EVP we went to play actually caused the computer to shut down. When we played it, it said, please don't leave me, in the EVP when we played it through the computer soundboard. And the computer shut down after a few plays. And when that actually played across, it just went out. Or like directly after it was heard on the audio, it went out. So stuff like that. And we would go to the cemetery and drink libations for the dead and things like that. And things would happen there too. But I don't know if that was connected. What was it? Was it us? Was it an entity, or a demon? I don't know. But I ended up having to move. Several attempts to clear that house in a traditional way were effective, but things in the house began to break. Like the furnace went out, the main water line under the concrete driveway broke. The ceiling in the laundry room, I've told this story before, but it fell in, and the hot water heater went out and had to move. I took a doorknob, because it was the first house I ever actually bought. It was my first home I ever owned. And I took it to a new house. And I don't know if it was because of the focus, but the same things sort of happened there too. Now, there was some of the same people, things like that, but it was milder, but it was interesting. I think the point is that attention feeds something, whether it's us creating it or something using us to create it. The focus makes it real, and it makes it stronger. What are we feeding with our attention at any given moment? And do we even know that we're doing it, is kind of where I'm at with it, as far as like what this could all mean.
Yeah, it is a weird space to kind of be in, because the limits of this suggest that we're literally manipulating reality just by being together and thinking about ideas together. And if that can be harnessed in some, futuristic way, like actually science can kind of be like, oh, by the way, yes, this can happen, and it can scale to millions of people, then, well, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? I mean, let's go to the moon or whatever. Let's do whatever comes next. It's crazy to me that we have these fractals of ideas that seem to be stunted in some way because we can't sort of overcome something that it seems like our ancestors knew anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they have used these mechanisms in the past to get a hold of information they wouldn't otherwise know. Like, in a lot of the sciences, I do think they began kind of in the way I'm describing, where they recognized they were making contact with something, and possibly they began to actually gather some type of intelligence from it, because they were, the question is, is it us though? Are we contacting something within ourselves that knows this information at some level? or are we contact is the focus that we're talking about? Does it contact something else that knows, what does it look like? What does that other side of ourselves look like? Is it us, or is it look like some kind of other entity? Or, I think it's a very interesting question, but I think that they've spent a lot of time gathering through a lot of esoteric practices, creating this type of energy interaction with others, bringing a group of certain minds together. And then they have gotten information for things like a lot of the sciences. At least it appears that a lot of the sciences have used that. I mean, we've talked about that in previous shows too. That, NASA, that has a root. It has essentially a root in the esoteric arts and what many would consider perhaps a type of, I don't know if I'd call it witchcraft, but it's very fascinating that they definitely lent into the spiritual realm. They attempted to go there and they got information that would be the establishment for the space program.
Yeah, and all the ritual stuff that comes with NASA, and the weird stuff we've talked about as well. The Jack Parsons and the Crowley, like how all that really comes together as a ritual magic aspect. And then you loop in the paperclip stuff from 30s and 40s Germany. It's weird. This is weird. This is a weird space, and it does make you wonder what is possible. And here we are in 2026, still wondering if this is possible. What else you got?
Absolutely. I mean, what is the price of it? I mean, because it does have a very surprising toll on a creature like just a normal human being, kind of like, we took it pretty seriously initially when we were doing a lot of these things. But, when things actually started to, like, there were things that were unexplained, as I pointed out. But, you tried to explain them away, but it was just so weird that you even start to find yourself doing, strange insulating activities while you're doing these certain experiments, but nevertheless, I mean, it's just, you're dealing with I don't know if it's the unconscious or if you're dealing with some type of outside intelligence. Is it coming from our knowing, or is it coming from that knows more than we know, because there's a separation there. We have to function in the normal world, but there's parts of us that are kind of guiding the whole sense of living. And is it that, or is it that type of intelligence, or is it some type of other intelligence outside of ourselves? And if that's the case, which, I mean, many times it has to be presented that way. I think the person can't accept that it might be a part of themselves. It's easier to accept it might be something outside of themselves, hopefully, is what they probably think, but they can't imagine that they are creating it.
Which is exactly the point. Yeah, exactly. Like, are we really just doing this to ourselves? And I think the answer to that is a good solid maybe, 100%.
Maybe.
maybe. James, anything for Jen before she goes?
Yeah, good to hear you, Jen, as always. And I'm just thinking about, all my experiences and how I've done things over the years. One thing I heard through listening to different shows and people talking about being paranormal investigators is never investigate your own home. Never try to make contact with whatever others are there in your own home, because you might stir up a lot more activity than you want to deal with.
Rules are meant to be broken, James. At least once.
Yeah, and I think I have my own experience with doing that once or twice over the years. Nothing. Luckily, I was very lucky. Nothing ever major ever happened. But I'm just thinking. The thing I always talk about with people is when they ask, don't you want to have more experiences? Don't you want to look into this more and learn how to do more of this? And my answer is no, not really, because I get worn out as it is, just with everyday life, and then with the handful of things that happen here or there.
It's really not worth it. He is absolutely right. I mean, unless you're like in some type of controlled environment or something, I don't think it's worth it either. Just from an experiencer perspective, I also agree with that. Don't just crack open a Ouija board in your living room. Maybe do it out somewhere, else or something. But I have to agree with James, 100% on that.
And I have a funny story. Sorry, Mike.
Just real quick, doing someone else's living room. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I have a funny story about Ouija boards, and I would say it's sort of a cautionary tale. I went into this one store that had like arts and crafts and hobby stuff, just all kinds of random things, board games. Walked into the shop that I knew very well years ago, and walked by this one shelf, and I got a really weird feeling, and I didn't know why. Couldn't figure out why. 'Cause I never had any weird feelings in the store before, and it was only from one spot. So I stepped back to where I felt this weird energy, and there was a stack of like 3 or 4 Ouija boards in their boxes on a shelf. So,
yeah,
what does that mean? Was there consciousness? Were there entities already there waiting because they were aware that that's what the boards were for, or were they used boards that were repackaged at some point and were being sold again? I don't know, but I did not see them when I passed them the first time, so I can't even say it was power of suggestion necessarily. There was some kind of weird presence or energy there, and so just a little PSA for everyone when you're getting into these things. If you pass them in the store and you get a weird feeling, look and see what's there next to you, because who knows.
I mean, I laugh now because it was a long time ago.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, at the time, I never, nothing like I had a couple of experiences prior to that, obviously, or I wouldn't have any kind of interest in it whatsoever at the time. Like I experienced a sort of poltergeist when I was a kid, where like a jar of buttons flew off of a shelf and didn't make any sense, and it always stuck with me. I was probably about 15. And so that was the only, obvious kind of strange, paranormal something. And it could have been explained by something, I'm sure, maybe, but in my mind at the time, it did lend to all the other things that I would, really be focused on for a long time. And I do think that you might actually have to go in with the kind of mindset that everyone goes in with initially, of like the sort of nonchalant, sort of devil may care feeling, and then find out. I think otherwise, I don't really know what it would be like to go in purely scientific, but I've heard that they have done a lot of studies like that, and they've also had equal results. So I don't know, but I think that the average person, I don't know. You could have You could even have skeptics. There were a couple of skeptics in the room that were just there to kind of make fun of the whole scenario and witnessed it. So that was interesting.
It's all fun and games till somebody gets bit by an invisible entity. That's the way it goes. Jen, you're the best. We're running out of time.
Have a great night.
Appreciate the call. Always a pleasure. Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer, again, the other co-host of Salcedo Paranormal on the weekends. Please go check out the YouTube channel, troubledminds.org/friends, not just salcedoparanormal.com, of course, but also troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It's alphabetical. Follow Jen. It says Jennifer right there, and please do the thing. Please help each other out. That's the whole point, is this community aspect of ideas. And what are we talking about? What are we thinking about? And not why am I a weird guy? Why are we a weird group where we're still thinking about these ideas in 2026? We're told that the science has put all this stuff to bed, right? Right. Right. A couple calls to get to. Hang tight, James. You get the final word tonight. Let's go to now. I'm going to swap the thing real quick, James. So don't say anything on Discord, because I want to swap it so you can hear the phone call, I think. So from secondary to Pro 2. Okay, there we go. All right, we're going to go to the phone call. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to Jay in Arizona. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Make it quick if you can. Go right ahead. Welcome to the thing.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks again for having me on something that I think is historic. Your show, just seeing it grow, always have a compliment. But regarding the topic, hopefully I stay on the right track. I kind of heard a little bit of previous callers, great information, great wisdom. But I guess kind of like you said, a collective mindset, right? Or I guess if I'm understanding it correct, or how we kind of all in a certain way, I guess, vibrate and connect, right? And I always think about as a simple example, like Troubled Minds, did I really find it, or was it an algorithm? You know, just weird concepts, and then personal experiences. This is going to get, I guess, for us, the Latins, we have a sick humor. You know, it's called like bipolar, laugh now, cry, or smile now, cry later. And for me personally, some experiences I've had, again, it's weird. I always analyze everything but psychology, and it all goes back to nature per se. But there was a few times back in the day, I don't go anymore. It's just gotten really dangerous in Mexico, where this was recent, probably about 2 years ago. One of my exes, she got deported, and I went to visit her for a birthday for her daughter. And her daughter's American, and they crossed the border. They wanted me to do some media work for the birthday. And what was crazy is, again, psychology, just like you said, how we all vibrate. There's different vibrations. In the Latin culture, we call it vibras, like where, and again, it goes back to nature. I'll kind of get into it a little bit, how it metaphorically relates in our perspective, I guess. But when I was out there, it's crazy because when she was out here in America for a while, she was a different person. And then again, when you relocate to different cities, as you talk about the vibration of the city, I believe that, just the psychology of it. And where she was at, you know, it's hard. It's a hard life and survival basically. And she just kind of changed. And when I was out there, it's crazy, but you know, I almost got robbed and kidnapped out there by her, like somebody I used to care about. And I wonder if it was, you know, at the same time, that was always her persona, or if she just kind of changed, adapting to survival, you know? And then what gets crazier is like different parts of Mexico that I used to go to. I remember crossing back one time, and when I used to have social media, this was like 6-7 years ago. Another friend of mine out here, she was a realtor, and she was out there at the time too. And we were coming back across the border, and then you just hear bah, 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 and all the cars on the freeway are just pulled over, and it's just a big cartel shootout. And again, back in those days, I remember seeing bodies hang from the bridges, and just, it's a crazy psychology, you know, like the cities and how everything's different. And then going back to this is what gets even weirder. So I think I told you guys a while back, I don't know who's heard or who hasn't, but I'm pretty sure you remember my uncle. He was an attorney out here in Arizona, immigration, but he got kidnapped, and, you know, who knows, but long story short, you know, I haven't been back since kind of those situations, you know, like PTSD, like you always just wonder all these things, you know, who you can trust, who you can't. And out here in Arizona, this happened last year. So when I used to go out there a lot, met a lot of interesting people, just different walks of life, people in the discotecas, which is like the clubs, they call them, but met all kinds of people. And there was one gentleman I met out there, really cool guy. He pretty much, he ended up getting into the government in Mexico, in Sonora. And I met him back in the day, though. He was in management at one of the clubs out there, and we had a good time, you know, all that other stuff. And long story short, out here in Arizona, I went to, I'm into nature, and I went to this reptile show. And it was weird because, again, like you guys talk about, I believe it's the sixth sense. And I was at this show, and I was with another friend of mine, me and her, and then I had this weird vibe, but it was here in the States. Like, it wasn't a bad vibe, but it just felt like I knew this energy, and I turned around, and it was him from Mexico. And next thing you know, we started talking, and I haven't talked to this guy like in 2 or 3 years, just because of all the violence out there. And I'm like, what are you doing here in Arizona? You know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I just moved out here 6 months ago. And he got deep too. And he said that 3 of his friends in the government just disappeared. They never found them. And they were, you know, they went to college together and everything. And then, you know, that's just how it is out there. Sometimes people just disappear and they're never found again. And kind of shook him up, and, you know, sense of urgency. He relocated out here where it's safer. But it's weird how, again, me and him found each other on this side of the border just randomly. We hadn't talked in like 2 or 3 years, you know. And then now going back to, like I per se, nature, I have a lot of books on, you know, aerial per se, like birds, stuff like that. And then also, you know, bees or whatever, the psychology of bees. And it's interesting because, you know, a lot of these books that you read from anthropology and all this stuff, we can observe it, but we don't understand the behavior and why they do the things they do, just like us. And everybody has their own perspective, but one of these books I have, it was very interesting. They show different times of the day, different orientations, different, I guess they call them waggle dances or whatever, the scientists. And they had all these graphs and stuff. And again, like how you and your perspective is different. And I think that's why we all connect with you versus like the typical interpretation of something that everybody conforms to. When I saw this stuff, it was weird. I didn't really connect with what I was seeing with what the literature was saying. And when I saw, I'm not saying I'm right, but I just saw a series of vibrations. It was music. It was melody. They were performing a musical, it was just interesting, but that was my interpretation of it. And again, I just think vibrations, just like certain species, we, some of us connect to something more dangerous. Some of us connect to more artistic vibrations. Some of us connect to whatever it is you're into. And again, it's just weird. Like you said, it's something we can't really comprehend in our psychology, but it works, whether you call it spiritual or whatever. But again, it's just, I don't know. It's like a phenomena I think none of us can explain, and why those things happen, synchronicity, whether it's that person from Mexico, you guys, or who knows. But it's just a phenomena that, I don't know. It always stimulates my mind, and every time you have a topic, it just kind of, it's something I can relate to. I'm like, I've always questioned those things, why this, why that, but there's not really a specific answer that I have come up with, or, I've heard from other people. I like all input, but at the end of the day, I think it's just something beyond our comprehension.
Amen. Amen, brother. Appreciate the call. As you know, we're out of time. Thank you for listening. Thanks for calling. Be safe out there, please. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Bye.
Thank you. Jay in Arizona, the official skydiver of Troubled Minds. We're done. I'm going to let the radio play and do the things, but 2-hour shows now. Like I said, we'll just keep it tighter. I think it's probably going to make for better shows. You don't hear me rambling on so much. We get to talk to each other a little bit more. And amazing stuff. James, anything to add? I gave you the final word. I promised it. And this music will play for and I'll turn it down. It'll play for 2.5 more minutes if you got anything to add.
Just great calls from everyone. I hear the echo, but it's okay.
No, I'll fix that. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Hold on. One moment, please. Yeah, see? Live routing audio is not good. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for having me on, as always. And it was great to talk with everyone and Jen. And please follow Jen's channel as well. And she's a great host on my show. So thank you, Mike, and thank you, everyone. Great night.
You were the best. The glue of the show, James Salcido Paranormal. Go give him a follow in all the places. SalcidoParanormal.com. It's SALSIDO Paranormal.com or troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down and just go follow James. That's that. So I think, like I said, I think 2-hour shows are going to be better and tighter and just better for my mental health. So if appreciate the calls, get the calls in early, get your piece heard and said, and then we'll wrap it and then come back punching the next night or 2 nights later. If you want to help us, help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. You know what to do. Spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening. Well, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. Our main drive here is not some sort of political agenda. We're going to talk about ideas. We're going to look at the world a little bit differently in ways that most people don't. That's the whole point. Stay tuned for the Midnight Ritual. We're going to play that in just a second as we wrap this, if you're still on the streams. But we used to play at midnight Eastern, the actual Stargate Ritual. So we're going to do that, wrap this up as I kind of finish things up and finish eating my dinner. But you guys are the best. Thanks for listening. Thanks for caring. Thanks for being part of this conversation. And we'll see you soon. I'm Michael Strange. This is Troubled Minds. Help our friends. Troubled Minds with an S. It's plural. There's many of us. And there are many more of us out there. So don't forget to spread the word. As we finish, yes. Yes, indeed. It goes exactly like this. Be sure. Be strong. Be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. And Stargate Ritual coming up right now.
jungle. Machines hum a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide. Plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
Indeed. Have a great one. We'll see you guys on Thursday night. Take care until then.